Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome to a special show for Motorsport Radio. It is a wonderful afternoon here and we have a good guest on today. It is Callum Ilott of the NTT INDYCAR Series, but joining me today is my fellow presenter, James Scott, as well. I will be having a good discussion with Callum about how his racing season is going, as well as what's coming up in the INDYCAR Series this season. So I'll have a quick handover to James. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, and I'm looking forward to asking Callum about the ins and outs of Bunkos-Hollinger racing and everything to do with IndyCar this season.
Fantastic. And Callum, for yourself, obviously, we're here in the UK at the minute, and you are a UK driver, but it's a bit of a different time zone over there. I hope we haven't woken you up too early this morning.
No, it's all good. Don't worry. I took a little coffee before we started, so I'm good to go.
Fantastic. Coming up this weekend, we do have the PPG 375 at the Texas Motor Speedway for the INDYCAR Series, and it is the second round of the season. Callum, it's been a good start for the year for you. I'm going to say with fingers crossed for later in the year. Let's put it that way. So tell me, how was the last round at St. Petersburg, and what are we looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, the last round at St. Pete, we had a top 5, P5. I mean, pretty amazing result, to be honest. Yeah, it was pretty special for the team and for us after the work we did over the winter. But yeah, it wasn't really expected. I think we were trying to aim for top 10, building off of where we'd kind of started to finish the end of last year. But the race was coming in our path in a certain way, and people kept making mistakes, and we were just able to keep moving forward. So it was a good race. I think made everyone happy for the work that we'd done. But we're going into the ovals now, and that will be a bit of a different scenario, and obviously the car is set up completely differently as well. So it'll be interesting to see, because Texas last year was my first oval race, and now I'm going back there, try and get to see how I've changed as a driver. Also, that was a very nerve-wracking weekend for me as a first oval, going 220 miles an hour. So yeah, should be exciting and a bit of a change.
Indeed, it's been, as you say, a roller coaster at the start of the season. But you are with Bunkos-Hollinger Racing this season. It's I believe it's your second full season. I think it is in the series. So you've had a year to get used to things now, and the car is maybe more familiar with you, but you have a lot of racing experience behind you already. I know you're only 24, but you've got a good sort of almost decade of racing at this point. So you're not new to these sorts of single seaters. So there's got to be something within you going, surely I can be mixing it with the big dogs this year, and there must be thoughts of podiums on the cards, or are we just thinking that top 5 was a one-off great result and that's where we're looking for the year? No,
definitely we're striving for more on that side. I mean, I know from my side that I'm definitely quick enough to be racing up there. It's just about putting the car down on the weekend. The big teams are putting a lot of time, money behind those cars and development, and we only just started at the beginning of last year, and we barely had enough people to run one car, let alone develop the car. So it's amazing to see the team progress as it has. It was quite a tough winter to even get the second car ready and get all the people behind it. But yeah, from my side, for the people that don't know, I raced Formula 3, then went into Formula 2. Was dabbling with the F1 reserve test stuff for Ferrari and Alfa Romeo. And then I kind of felt like I was going to hit a roadblock there. There was no path into Formula 1 at the short term that I saw. So then I did some GT racing for Ferrari. There was a look at the hypercar side there. And then this IndyCar opportunity came about, and it was kind of a take it or don't, and you may not ever get another opportunity. And I went for it. Very, very small team. It was just us. Did 3 races at the end of the year. The team completely changed. We had all new people come in with the partnership with Carlin, and we've just been building the team since. So it's been super impressive to see and to slowly get better and better. But like you said, I've got more familiar with the car. The team's got more familiar with me. We've had a package that we've just kept working on, and it is nice when it was a single car and we're beating some of these teams like Penske and Ganassi, especially in qualifying, it's just nailing it and turning some heads, which is nice. But of course, the podiums are what we're looking for later on in the season. We've definitely got a good car at Road America, Iowa, Barber. So there should be a few more. St. Pete was by far probably the worst car for us. So it's quite nice to know that we got our best result on probably the worst circuit for us.
That's always the case, as it were, classic. For those who do want to keep up, by the way, with Callum's exploits, you can follow the radio coverage of the NTT INDYCAR Series live here at Motorsport Radio throughout the weekend, where we will be streaming the coverage on our radio station. James, it's I'll get you involved at this point. It's good to see British drivers over here in racing in the American series, proving that we are a very international series, as it were. But James, tell us about how you got into IndyCar and what you want to ask Callum.
So I got into IndyCar. Actually, I was a very big Marcus Ericsson fan. So when he went stateside, I followed it. And then since then, I've always followed the coverage and I've really fallen in love with IndyCar. And I just wanted to pick up on Callum, you saying you've got lots of new people in. There's obviously more new people now. You've got a second car with that number 78 entry in as well. Does it feel like almost a new team from last year as well, with the new people, the new equipment? Townsend Bell mentioned all the new software. So the engineering meetings, apparently, I don't know, you're the one in the meetings, but they are completely different. Does it feel like almost a new team this season, like in changement from last season?
Yeah, it's definitely... we've got 50% new people, so it's going to feel a big change. We tried to keep my environment the same as we kind of could. It's not easy because you need to kind of share some experience and the people who are already stable within the team, obviously with the other car, because that's not ideal to kind of just leave them to start up new. But of course, that was limited in a certain way because it's quite nice to keep the working package that I had as we were progressing so much. But yeah, I would say it was more all the small things we improved on over the winter. So there was basically on the pit stop side, on the strategy side, those make a massive difference in the race, and somewhere where we really were behind. And it's quite nice to see already at St. Pete the difference we have after a couple of months with, should we say, some of the new stuff that we got, how much of a difference that made. That was super impressive. Car-wise, we obviously keep improving a little bit, but it's so hard to make some of the gains that maybe are expected from other teams. So we definitely have a more an easier to drive car. It's more compliant, a bit softer. But we're just, especially at St. Pete, we're just lacking a bit of speed. So that's really where we're trying to push for and trying to unlock. But everyone at the factory knows where we need to improve in that. And yeah, it's thoroughly impressive. But like I said, it's brand new. Lots of different discussions, lots of different ideas, and actually getting that many new people, it's quite impressive to see all the opinions and what we can do. And I'm always one of these people that's like, just if you don't like something, say it. Let's work through it. Don't think of all these politics that you need to say. Let's just work on making it better. So it's always nice to have a chat with some of the mechanics and see what their thoughts are and where we need to improve and just work on it.
Yeah, really, really interesting that you've kind of built your car and it keeps developing throughout the year. So did the front row start then at Laguna Seca? Did that feel like a turning point in your IndyCar career? I mean, you were so close to your first pole, and actually it turned out to be a very historic pole in IndyCar history with Will Power surpassing Mario Andretti. Did that feel like a turning point for you in your IndyCar career?
I don't think a turning point, more of a statement, shall we say. It was quite nice throughout the season to finish with that. Look, I knew we had a good car for the last 3 weekends. It was pretty clear that from the beginning of the season, that was all the packages we had from Carlin in that sense, that was one of the better ones. And they knew it was good. And we've been working away at everything else to try and make it better and better and better. So when we arrived there, I wasn't expecting second, of course, but I was expecting to be up there. And I nailed the lap apart from a little bit in the corkscrew, which must have been his pressure on me, I guess, to get that, was it 68th or 69th pole? It was super impressive for us as a team, and I think made everyone very happy with the achievements. From my point of view, it was great to do, but it was a bit like, look, if you give me a good car, this is what I can do, right? I'm in a certain way a lot better than what the results show, but this is what I signed up for. I'm here to help you build the team. I'm here to do my best. I may be 23 or 24 at the time. I can't remember how old I was when I did it. 23 maybe. But I can definitely do more than just drive your car. I can help and we can build it. So it's nice to have that kind of recognition, and especially within the team, you know, outside of it, people can judge how they want to, and I may be taking the long run and people may be thinking that, oh, what's this kid doing? But it's nice to get that recognition. But I did say, you know, as soon as the car's there, that's the results I can get you, and we can probably take this for a lot more than that.
Fantastic. That's fine, James. Sorry. It's fantastic to hear from yourself, Callum. Thank you. You said about, say, building a team, building an environment around you. Obviously, this is a very different series for you compared to ones you've been in before. You've been in a lot of, obviously, junior series. You talked about Formula 3, Formula 2. I know you've done some GT work prior to this, but this is probably the first time you've done a full season campaign, other than last year with IndyCar, where you're competing against not just other young up-and-coming shots, but you're having to compete with very experienced drivers, and you're having to build a team around people. You've got a new teammate this year, after all, the rookie Conopino, and as a result, you're having to lead a team despite being the junior member of it. I know he's obviously got great experience over down in South America, and I'm sure you're able to feed that back quite a lot, but that must be a very unique environment for you, and one you're having to get your head around.
Yeah, I mean, to put it into perspective, yes, F3, F2, you're always competing against, should we say, the top junior drivers, but everyone is progressing at the same sort of rate. So maybe you come across a guy who's done maybe 3 years in F2, 4 years in F2 as a maximum, but that's probably the most experienced guy you're going to come across. Then going into the GTs, it was quite interesting to see everyone's different opinions and stuff, but it was very... especially with the older guys, it was very teamworky. So they were all there to help you, as they know that your team's only as good as the slowest guy in the car. So that was quite an interesting concept and quite nice to be around. But then going into IndyCar, yes, you're racing against some of the best of the best with a lot of experience. I mean, Scott Dixon, Will Power, they've got 20 years experience in this category all the way through. So it's super, super impressive to be racing against these guys. They sometimes can run rings around you. Sometimes you can learn a lot from it. And then with the team, yeah, I had to be a driver, a development driver, in some ways a team manager, in some ways, just working on things behind the scenes. And then I didn't have a teammate for the first year, so I only knew how to go faster for myself. That was the thing. I'd be sitting there just before qualifying, like, I think I can do that flat. I think with a bit more grip or a bit more front end, we can do this. And then with a car that I didn't know, so especially on the ovals, it was quite a challenge. But yeah, going in with a teammate, look, it's a super tough series, and he is a great driver. It's just not easy jumping in like that without single-seater experience. It's really tough. He did a great job in St. Pete, and that's not to be overlooked at all. It's so tough physically. Like, if you're not used to it, it's super demanding. Then the concentration and what you got to do with the car, you can't make a mistake. So 1.5 tenths, 2 tenths in qualifying can put you 5, 6, 7 places down, and you can really suffer. So yeah, it's a bit of we have to build him up, and we've done a great job, and he's done a great job of being straight on it. I was thoroughly impressed at St. Pete. It's just now it gets a bit tricky when you're going into Texas, the first oval. That will be a complete learning experience for him. Not experienced anything like it, and he did the test. Test was great. but then you go into first practice with 50 minutes and then you're into qualifying, but 50 minutes with 26 other cars around you all doing 220 mile an hour is a bit of a strange feeling, because you're like, oh shit, I can't, sorry for my language, but it's a real shocking experience to be avoiding all these cars and building yourself up to speed.
No, it's fine. We appreciate your honesty, honestly. Tell me about it. But no, as you say, Augustine did a very good job. He was 12th place in St. Petersburg. And yeah, it was for a first-time driver for the series. He did very well. But you mentioned, as you say, first oval is going to be such a new experience for him. But of course, you've already done your first oval, and you talked a little bit about it. But when you were going into your first oval session last year, what was going through your mind? Because they said you had no teammate, you had no reference point. It was very much a blind scenario. And you appear to have adapted relatively well throughout the season, but I'm pretty sure that first practice session must have hit you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, I mean, we had Texas, which was a real build-up race for me. I was just trying to learn and feel, and it was super tough because testing is one thing, driving around on your own is one thing. You kind of get the hang of it, and then with all the other cars, there's just so many unknown techniques which come into play, and it's kind of like a trial and error. And obviously, the trial you don't want to get too wrong. So that was unique for me. And then we went to the 500, and you've got so many days of testing, and then you get to the race and you're like, oh damn, we needed more. Like I wish I could have got a bit more. And the car changes with the temperatures, and that was tough and got caught out. I ended up having a big crash, 2 impacts, and broke my hand in it. So I missed Detroit the week after, which was not easy to deal with, because you're like, I was just starting to build up some confidence, and then that's a bit of a shame. But yeah, I kind of got back into it, and Iowa and Gateway were 2 of the shorter ovals, which I thoroughly enjoyed. They were great, really. It was nice to kind of build back up the confidence. But yeah, Texas and Indy are 2 separate beasts. I mean, they are super fast. The car's really, really edgy. I'm really looking forward to going back to Texas, just because it was my first one and I was so inexperienced and kind of didn't know what I was doing. And these cars are like, I think for Indy, you don't understand like how finely tuned we get these cars to nothing I've ever seen before in terms of getting that perfect balance. And that's why it's so easy to go wrong, because you think you get it so on the edge, and then it just.
So would you say then that Texas is the toughest IndyCar track that you've ever raced on? Obviously, all 17 or all 16 are completely different. Road America is completely different to Texas Motor Speedway, which is completely different to the streets of Nashville. Is Texas the toughest just because it is such a daunting task because you've never done something like that before? Or would you say there's one that, it's tricky to get a hold of?
I think Texas is super fast, and as a rookie, it's very nerve-wracking for the way it is. But it's not the toughest. It's easy to catch out on a racing scenario because we have this PJ1, which is that slippery NASCAR service above the racing line. But no, it's definitely not the trickiest. There are some things about it, of course. Every track is individual, but I mean the 500 is that's the one where you're getting the car to a place it really shouldn't be at 230 miles an hour. That's not a nice scenario to be feeling under your bum when the front starts lifting up towards the wall or the rear starts going in the middle of the corner. But that's its own kind of thing to master. I think Iowa can be a real tough one for the teams because you've got two races on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. And it's a very bumpy oval. That's quite weird. You set the car up quite differently. Look, they're all tough and they're all different things to master. If you're doing a green flag pit stop in Iowa, you go 2 laps down. So that's quite interesting to kind of work with strategy and tough on the teams. St. Pete physically is the toughest, and that's the first one we go to. So, over the winter, you're trying to kill yourself to be ready for the heat and the exhaustion and what it does to your hands. But yeah, Barber physically as well is really tough. That's probably the highest load we get on a road course. But yeah, pretty. They're all got their own little quirks.
Yeah. So then, kind of speaking of the different tracks that we've got, if speaking kind of a bit hypothetically, but if IndyCar returned to Europe, you're obviously a master of the European scene with your exploits in the European Formula 3, Formula 2, all of that. What track would you love to take your Juncos Hollinger car around? Like, what would really excite you? Well, which European tracks do you think, kind of similar, and what would bring out the best in an Indy car?
I think the best racing you'd get would go to Monza. Monza would be incredible in an Indy car. I think just with the way it's designed, with the way we can run the downforce, the Italian fans are always quite special as well. So I think that would be the best. I'd love to go to Silverstone. I think we'd die at Silverstone. I don't think it would be possible really, given how heavy the steering is there anyway. Street circuits would always be good, but I think, Monza's gotta be the number one, I would say.
Yeah, the speed down the front might be super impressive. And then, sorry, just one last thing as a pick up on what you said earlier about building a team. Was the kind of the motivation of building the team around your driving style and having the people supporting you? Was that what led you to sign a couple more years with Juncos Hollinger? Was that dedication that the team had showed to you? You wanted to pay back? Was that kind of the reason to keep going with what used to be the little team that could, which is now becoming a strong force in IndyCar?
Yeah, there's multiple things, isn't there? When kind of considering these. So, like, first of all, yes, Ricky gave me the opportunity, and IndyCars, especially from Europe, is not a straightforward thing to get into, and normally requires a bit of backing to get into. But because of the way he was structuring the team and what he needed from a driver, it was straight into a professional role. And I know from other guys that that's quite a rare thing to get from IndyCar. Because it's just from Europe, it's not. You don't know the tracks, you don't know all of this. But Ricky we spoke, and he saw something in me and trusted me on that side. And he's probably right too in some ways as well. But I in some ways I'm a very loyal guy, and I respect that a lot. And there's still lots of things I need to learn and adjust to. Of course, I would happily bet on myself that if I was in maybe one or two of the teams at the front, that I would definitely be winning races and fighting for the championship, but even now. But of course, if I can do something greater than just drive and build a team and put something in, that's with me forever, instead of just being, if we get a good result, it's because Callum and Juncos Hollinger Racing worked together and built that. If I jump in one of those other teams and win, it's because, of course he's going to do that if he goes there. It's a bit of a different thing behind the name and all of that. And I respected a lot the way they've done it. I think there was a lot for me to offer. I think some people may say I'm a bit harsh, a bit tough in some ways, but we're all there to do a job. We're all there to build something and become better. And the environment that I had all respected me for that, and I respect them for that. And yeah, we're all got the same goal. And it's also nice every step of the way to kind of be rewarded. I think, like, coming to the first 3 races and then Barber last year was when we got our first Fast 12 and started to see things turning. Like, we had to go through a lot of trial and error to get to that point, to get that car even to the point it was in Barber. And then we kind of found a couple of things that clicked, and yeah, it's been working away massively. But there's lots of good people within the team, and it's very nice to see people come together and given that opportunity to shine. And I think I'm not only helping myself, I'm helping a lot of other people within the IndyCar series, within the team to shine and show what they can do, which is nice as well.
You speak very nicely of your team and very high praising, which obviously I'm used to with a lot of drivers. But you speak with a big sort of passion about building a project, and from someone so young, that's that's fantastic to hear, as it were, as a personal statement. But it does make me think, how long term are we thinking here? I mean, I know you're only 24, but are you the sort of guy who would plan and go, I want to be a team manager one day. I want to be a coach. I want to move on and create something. Well, you said you wanted to create something better than yourself one day. You want something to be known for what you created. Are you looking at the bigger picture, as it were, beyond driving down the line?
Well, I mean, my first thing behind it was like, I wanted to do this with F1 anyway. I wanted to go into one of those smaller teams and really show how valuable I could be as a driver, and with even just with the people, how much you could do. You hear stories of Schumacher, how he would motivate all the team and all of that. Of course, not in the same way at all, but that kind of reflection of going, like people really like to work with this guy, or
so
really
you're inspired by Schumacher in a sense, then.
I'm inspired. That story is something that, yes, inspires me and gives me a bit of motivation. But I didn't get that opportunity in F1. No one gave it to me, so I wanted to do something which, certain people maybe recognize, certain people see and respect. And it takes also a certain type of person to see and respect that, because a lot of people only care about results nowadays. But no, longer term, look, whatever I do with the team is to leave the team in a better place, whether it's short term or long term, whether I really continue it and see out in that sense of what we can do together, and maybe one day even win the championship, or if it's like, okay, look, I've put you guys in a great position, I need to see what I can do now, and then see how you guys do without me. It's one of those things that I'll have to see. That's more of the short term. And then in the longer term, look, being a racing driver, I've done it since I was 8 years old. I didn't, you always think that you're professional in a certain way, and that started from the age of 12. Like, you're racing 38 weekends a year, so it's kind of all you learn to know. So looking further in the future, I'd like to step out of the driving side a bit. Not that doesn't mean I want to stop driving, but it's very hard in some ways. Look at the purpose of life. I don't think I'm made to just be a driver, and it would be quite interesting to see what other talents I have, and how good I could be at other things. I could still do the driving side or whatever. But yeah, of course, you have to look at things and go, how long do I want to do this? And I think I've got another good 10 years at least, but I can definitely dabble in some other stuff and see if I've got some talents elsewhere.
For philosophy here with Callum Ilott. So no, fantastic. It's fantastic to hear. But of course, relating it back slightly to our home audience, obviously you are a British driver in a very American series. You must have some sort of home comforts you miss now living in the United States.
Well, I mean, this is not a comfort. So, I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I came over, and some of the things are a bit strange. Of course, like we're not used to doing a national anthem before the race. We're not used to doing a prayer before the race as well, and I found those things quite strange to adapt, because also doing a prayer before a race is quite a intense feeling in a certain way, and not normal, and a bit. Well, it is out here, but for me, I was like, okay, I feel very inside right now, and I don't know if this feels right or not. So that was a bit of a discomfort in a certain way, but then you get used to it and you're like, okay, now I like this. It's not my national anthem, but to be fair, it gets you in the mood, it gets you pumped, it gets you ready. But the comfort side, I don't know. Look, I spent 4 years living in Italy, building my life out there, and then very quickly I was starting to get, I started to get comfortable and was enjoying it. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to America. Right, that was enough of that. That was quite strange for me. Changing environments. Of course, everyone speaks a language here, but you're having to adapt. You're being pulled out of situations. I live here on my own. it's not that it's discomfort. It's just like you have to find your comfort. So whatever it is I enjoyed in the UK, I have to find it out here. And it's a very intense season because once we kind of get started from Long Beach, every week you're driving for a good 3 or 4 months. So there's not much room to go home and to relax. So yeah, I enjoy it. It's a super intense series. Lots of good people here. The only other thing I found a bit weird was that everyone from Europe just dropped contact. Like everyone not necessarily the drivers, but everyone I'd worked with, it's like once you're gone, you're gone. So it is quite nice to hear back from some people. That's quite a weird one to get your mind over to start with. You're like, oh, all these people that I worked with, it's like, okay, fine, whatever. It's just the way it goes. But it's always nice when I get to go back to one of those F1 races and catch up with some people, that's for sure.
I can imagine. I will ask by asking about the taboo question then, which is Formula One. Obviously, it didn't quite work out. You had a very successful Formula 2 campaign. You were runner-up, perhaps not quite the result you wanted, but still, congratulations. There must be a part of you that's, as you say, missing that side with all the dropped contacts, with, the lack of, opportunity, let's say, to go back to it in the short term. There's a lot of your life you've been building up to that moment, and now you've got a whole new direction. There must have been a lot of thought process going through your head after that realization you've got to change your life path.
Yeah, look, I mean, end of 2020, actually, to be fair, before the season even finished, I knew that 2021 was not going to be my time in Formula One. And I kind of, it annoys you very much because it's like, okay, well, I finished second. I should get a chance in that sense. But there was always 2022. So I was looking at it and going, okay, well, I just have to show what I can do, work behind the scenes. It's not, you can't really do too much as a reserve driver to show what you can do. But of course, there are others who, F1 is all about the package that you bring. And there were others who could fulfill that package more than I could. Yeah, that one in 2021. That year was tough. And at that point, when I knew for 2022 I wasn't going to be going to Formula One, I had to kind of make a choice and go, look, I could sit here as reserve driver and wait and maybe get my chance. And maybe you do end up in that situation. Maybe the people have enough faith in you that you get that chance in 3 years down the line. But you're putting that down to luck, and having that much time out of a car is not good. You lose the momentum. That's very tough to come back from, and some people don't come back from it, and some people don't do well after it. So then made that decision to jump to IndyCar. Look, it's a bit bitter, and it's definitely a mental challenge because you're so prepared for Formula One. Like that's what your goal has always been. But you have to readjust. Yeah, you have to readjust your mindset. Of course, I can sit here and go, I'd still love to give it a go and show what I can do. But it's not. You can't sit there living like it. I would have said like last year, yeah, I was quite hurt by it. But now I'm like, I've got a life to live. Is it really that good? Traveling that much, not getting any time to yourself. You're working 355 days a year. And especially as a young driver, probably for a similar salary, it's like, I get 4 months off here. It's brilliant. I mean, and I get to race cars, which you don't have to use DRS all the time, and you're overtaking racing. It's different. You have to accept a lot of things and look at all the positives and negatives. But yeah, it was tough to start with. It was very tough to start with.
Callum here benefiting from 4 months holiday. The reasons to get into IndyCar, guys.
Exactly. I mean, the little things,
Fantastic. James, mate, give us a...
Would you advise others joining stateside? I mean, Christian Lundgaard has come across as well. Do you not think that it it would be good for others that don't quite get that chance in Formula One. Would you recommend coming stateside? Do you think it's really managed to bring out the best in Callum Ilott?
Okay, so yes, I had a lot of younger guys approach and ask like what the situation's like and that, but it was a similar thing with me. I got approached end of 2019 or end of 2020, I can't remember which year, by one of the IndyCar teams, and even at that point, I was like, well, this could be a good opportunity, but you can never. It's so hard to make that jump. It's about just committing to it, and I think that's quite tough for people because they have the dream or the hope or even the opportunities in the UK. Look, I think that it definitely does. There's been a bit of a boom in the last year, but I think anyone who's shown what they can do in a certain way has a good chance to come over. IndyCar is always quite open of testing newer guys, and I think each team is allowed a kind of new driver rookie day, which gives people the opportunity. Yeah, it's a great series. Super sharing. All the drivers, especially around the Indy 500. There's 33 of us in this motorhome RV lot, and we're just chatting, having fun. Everyone is willing to share experiences. Yes, you do get a good kicking on the race weekends, on the Sundays. It's a very tough, hard racing, but everyone's there to entertain. We respect each other, and it's good fun. So I had a lot of interest. Yes, like I said, from younger guys. I think it's in some ways it's been able to show the best of me in a lot of other parts. I'd love to be in the position like I was in F2. Being in the top 2 of the championship the whole way through the year. That's definitely great in a lot of other aspects. But of course, you're here to build something. You're here to show what you can do, and people always love a journey and a story. So it's nice.
Fantastic. James, have you got anything else to add to the situation, or should we go from there?
I think I've got everything. The only thing I was going to say is I remember IndyCar posted a TikTok video talking about which football teams are people's favourites, and you were very strong on saying Chelsea straight away, whereas everyone else was talking about an American football team. Have you picked up much American culture in the time that you've been out there?
I guess I picked it up, but I haven't adjusted to it. I don't really want to. That's not in a bad way to them. It's quite nice to keep things the way it is. I enjoy a lot the entertainment in the sports side. Went to a minor league hockey game the other weekend, which was great. But yeah, look, I enjoy baseball, football. It's like super. Their football is incredible by the strategy and the way they sort of do stuff, and it's really nice to appreciate something quite different. But the culture is a strange one. I was actually straight after I was born in the UK, I came and lived here for 2.5 years in Philadelphia, and I had an American accent. I had all of this as I started to learn to talk. But then, I think my mum got rid of that quite quickly when I went back.
As she should. We say as the British broadcaster. Speaking of the British broadcaster, you can of course catch the NTT INDYCAR Series with their live radio coverage here at Motorsport Radio throughout this weekend. They will be at Texas Motor Speedway, so we look forward to watching how Callum gets on with that. So one final thing, Callum, before we run off today. When we last had Stingray Robb and David Malukas on the show, we did ask them one particular question, which is, what games have you been playing online?
I used to play a lot of Call of Duty, but I'm not a massive fan of the new one. I have quite a few friends here who play Apex Legends, so I've been playing Apex. I'm not a big fan of the racing games and stuff. I do enough driving as it is in real life. And
you don't have 6,000 points on iRacing or anything like that.
No, definitely not. I think the last time I went on iRacing, I really decreased my safety rating after I spent so long building it, because I just, it's to every poor person I probably hit. Yeah, it's just not something I can get used to. I'm used to the feeling of it. Of course, simulators I did a lot with the Formula One side, but yeah, I just can't get used to it. If I'm at home, I'm not concentrating, so I'll just miss a braking zone and end up taking someone out, and then I have to disconnect before I get banned.
There you go, guys. Callum Ilott is that one guy in the online lobby that you all hate. So,
yeah, if you see me going down that inside in your mirrors, yeah, watch out.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, Callum, thanks a lot for joining us today. Thanks a lot, James, for joining myself. I've been Connor Jackson, and this has been Motorsport Radio.